So having learnt now the demand curve, we will move our focus to the supply function and supply curve. So what is your supply? Note that supply is defined as the willingness and the ability to sell a good or services. Okay. So if let's say somebody has a willingness to supply goods but he does not have the ability, we will not consider that as a supply. Let's say suppose I say that I have the ability to supply, I have the willingness to supply, let's say arms to Indian army, but I do not have the ability to build the arms. So it means that the supply would be zero. Right? Also, if let's say suppose I have lots of wheat with me, okay, right, and I have the ability to supply the wheat, but I am not willing to supply the wheat. I will want to consume the wheat for myself. Again, I would say that supply is zero. So supply is both willingness and the ability. Right now, the producers, okay, if you see like there are farmers, if you see sometimes they just dump the product in the dump yard, they don't sell it. Why? Because they say that the price at which they have produced is more than what is the current price. This happens with the vegetable, right? So the producers, they will sell their product only if they are able to meet the cost of production. Okay, if they are able to meet the cost of producing an additional unit. So this is our very important concept. We always think about in terms of the additional unit, which is your marginal unit. So the supply on what factor it will depend on? It will depend on the price of the product. The higher the price of the product, you will be willing to supply more. Also the supply depends on the cost to produce. Okay, the cost is the wages, the raw material cost, etc. Right. So the more is the differences between the price and the cost, more is the willingness of the supplier to supply the good. Right. So what we say is the supplier is doing the production. The production is the transformation of the factors of production into the finished goods or services. So you will employ the factors of production, you will use the factors of production, and you will produce the finished goods. Okay. So the supplier, they purchases the factors in the market, and hence the cost to the supplier, it will depend on the prices of these factors in the market. So what is the wage, etc. Right. So suppose what we are saying is there is only one input. We are considering only one input, and we have considered labor as the input. So what we can say is that the quantity supplied, so it should be supplied, the quantity supplied of a product X, it is dependent on the price of the product X and also the wage. Okay, so what is the labor cost? So the quantity supplied of T, it is dependent on the price of the T, and it also depends on the wage. So what is the wage? So first let's say quantity supplied here is kg per week. The price of the T is in dollar per kg, and the wage is in dollar per hour. Okay, so what is the wage? Is your dollar per hour. So let us try to identify how much will be the supply of T when the following items are there, when the following prices are there. So the T price is $6 per kg, and the wage is $15 per hour. So 500 into 6 is 3000. This is 150. So you are going to supply 2750 kg. When the price of the T it becomes 4 per kg, what will happen? So when it becomes 4, the price has reduced, so you are willing to supply lesser. See, this 500 into 4 is 2000. From there you are subtracting 100, and the wage rate is 225. So 25 into 50 is 250. So you will supply only now 1650. So what has happened is the wage has increased, the price of T has gone down. As a result, you are going to supply lesser amount. Earlier you were supplying 2750, now you will supply 1650. What will happen if the T price is increased? Okay, so the T price is increased, you will be willing to supply more, but here what is happening is the wage rate has decreased. So what you will do is you will say this has become 8, this has become 35, so this will become 4000. Okay, this is minus 100, and this has become minus 350. So the impact on the wage price increase is not that much as the demand of the impact of the price. So you are willing to supply more. So 4000 minus 450, you are willing to supply 3550 kg. So this has more impact on the quantity supplied as compared to the wage rate. So at the end of this chapter, we'll also see that what are the things that will impact, or the sensitivity of the quantity supplied is dependent on what all factors. Okay, factors is okay, but we'll quantify them, right? So this is the quantity supplied of tea. It depends on the various factors.